Making this video so that Mikayla, I don't know if you have access to this videos or just for to have this on video. These are actual copies of entrances, admit card entrances that I got when I went to Washington D.C. pleading for my life. Ted Cruz, as you can see right here, I actually got this card, and I don't remember if that's Mikayla's writing or not, but I got this because this is evidence and proof. When I went into the governor's office in Washington D.C., where they have all the governor's offices, and I walked in, I saw Mikayla, my sister, Mikayla Leeser. This is the same girl who I saw at Good Elementary, who is my biological, technically my half-sister. We share the same biological father, who I'm named after him, which is, his name is Hector, which I am in search of, and is also in search of Mikayla. Now, I don't know, out of all the things that could have happened, why, how, who set this up, what was going on, why Mikayla was working at the front desk when I walked into the governor's office of Texas when Ted Cruz was governor, and why she was even there. There was nobody in the office. There was just her. I walked in. She looked familiar. I said, "Wow, that's a pretty girl." But I was thinking she looked kind of familiar. It didn't really even ring a bell to me, but like I had maybe seen this person somewhere else. And I asked her, and I said, "What is your name?" She said her name was Mikayla. I said, "Well, what's your last name?" And she was kind of a little hesitant to give a last name. And this is why I think that she could have had stalkers and people targeting her. And she was kind of looked on the screen, and she, kind of clicked or did something on the screen, and then goes like this, like to protect herself or something, like her private parts, or like that had something in reference to do maybe something else that's going on. Not me. But when I asked her, and I said, I tried pronouncing her name, I said, Mikayla? And she kind of looked at, and she had this sense that she knew that I was her brother. And this is proof. I went in, I want to say that I think that this is the actual card that they gave me, and that may have been her handwriting that gave me this, because I went in there, and this happened about 5 years ago. This is about 5 years ago, maybe 5 to 6 years ago, that I saw Mikayla. I had no idea what the story behind this is. I have no earthly idea how this is happening. I walk in, and I was pleading for my life, and I was like, I would like to speak to the governor. At the time, it was Ted Cruz. I think there's a new governor every few years or something. I don't know if it's every 4 years, 2 years, 3 years. But I went in there to try to contact Ted Cruz, who was the governor, to have a sit down and talk, because they have like Wednesdays and Thursdays or something like that, once or twice a week, where people can drink, sit down and have coffee, and talk about whatever political, stuff they want to talk about, building new offices, setting new laws, or, making Texas better or something like that. But that's what they do, are problems. But I went in there, and I wasn't able to, because he was out of town, and then I ended up having to leave, and I wasn't there in the city very long. But when I went in there, Mikayla Leeser, same person that I saw at Lawrence Community Shelter 2 years later, was there. She was even wearing one of the same dresses I saw her in, one of the same long dress gowns. I don't know. This is very confusing to me. I'm not crazy. I'm not paranoid, delusional, no mental problems that I'm making this up. It was her. When I left, I don't know what the story to this is, so but I'm showing this as proof. This is more proof. Here. This is the House of Representatives. The Senate and the House of Representatives are two different sides. And I went in there, and this is the actual proof. You know how they have, like on TV, you ever see that person with like, where they have all the cameras and they have all these politicians and all the presidents go in there and talk in Congress and they set new laws and shit, and you see them with like, with like a little hammer, but it's not, it looks like a courtroom, but it's not a courtroom, and they like pass new laws. Well, I actually went in there and I sat down at the very top balcony, and I was just sitting there watching. Somehow, of how dirty and homeless I looked like I was, they let me inside that building in that area. They did. And this is proof here, the House of Representatives. After I went into Ted Cruz and he wasn't available. So I went in there, spent maybe 30 minutes, an hour at most, and left. And it was weird. You have all these digital cameras and all these politicians and stuff and whatnot, but I wanted to talk about this because this is more proof that I was in Washington, D.C. in more than one occasion. I went there in more than one occasion. First time, when I initially was in 2000, I believe it was in, here's one, not valid after, okay, so here's, I don't know, it didn't say here when I actually got this done, but here's a library card, Library of Congress that they give me, and they take a picture so that I can walk in there. Here's another one. I show up again 3 years later to Washington, D.C., trying to do the same thing. Here is my another library card of Congress. Here's another library card of Congress that they also gave you. This is like to rent books or whatnot, and to use your computers. This is what they gave me. And this, I just felt them electrocute me just a second ago. As soon as someone opened the door, they have some electronic device turned on right now, and I can hear the door slam, and it throws an electrical current into my body. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I went to the governor's office. This is why I went to Washington, D.C. pleading, because these electronic devices that they're using on me, because I have no idea who's responsible doing this, how much of any of this is illegal, that they're just electrocute me. So this right here is a smart trip card to ride the buses and trains in Washington, D.C. This is more proof. Now, I want to talk about this because this is the evidence that I have that I was there. I want to say that I think this is Mikayla's actually handwriting, and this with the governor right here, Ted Cruz. But this is like the official card that they give you that they have. So these are the two cards. I went in there and I saw Mikayla. Wasn't available, she said, and then I left. I showed up 2-3 days later. When I showed up, there was a different lady sitting at the front desk. And there was a lady claiming her name was Sarah. And she was sort of making a mockery. I know that she was making a mockery of my biological sister, Mikayla, my real-blooded sister, my real sister that I never knew that I had. And I want to talk about this because this person behaved like they were chasing or after Mikayla. And Mikayla, I have to say this because please be careful. There's so much vengeance to get at me that they will go after you and find people to do it for her. It's just hate crimes like they're doing to me. But when I saw Mikayla, I didn't recognize and she didn't tell me that I was her brother. Now, this is how wild it gets. Okay, so when I first saw Mikayla, I had no idea. I was about 35. I was 35 years old, and I was working at the Magic Time Machine. I had just gotten a job. Was it right before? Right before that. I want to say right before. It was like 6 months before I start working for like the Magic Time Machine. I'm walking in a grocery store. Everything's cleared out. I walk in there and I see Mikayla. I have no idea that she's my sister. She just walks by me like she's identifying me. I know it sounds crazy, like when someone's murdered or killed, you have to go to an autopsy table and you have to identify them to see whether you're related to them or not, or you know who they are. But she walked by me just to identify me, didn't say anything, and she made a very clear glance to look at me. And I paused and froze, and I was in the fruit and vegetable section, and I just paused and froze and looked, and I was like, well, there's never pretty girls that ever get around me, ever. Heterosexual females. And I thought it was kind of weird. I said, who let you, this is weird. Who would have let you to be around me for some reason? But there was no one around. And it was like during the day. So someone had staged and told her that I was going to be walking in that grocery store, because I walked in that grocery store almost totally by random. So what I do, I just kind of froze and looked, and I kind of thought to myself, that person kind of looks like me a little bit, like a sister or something. I don't know, and so I just go about my business, and I think to myself, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know. That was weird, because I thought maybe she was there to help me, to identify the situation, but I don't know if that was the entire scenario with the situation. I have no idea, because I've been pleading to a lot of people, to a lot of situations, hoping, because the heterosexual females, real authentic females that are born females, are the only hope that I'm going to have in this life. For them helping me, having any kindness, careness. The transgenders are fucking, 99% of them are fucking filthy, motherfucking, disgusting pieces of shit. The way that they behave toward me and how they're mentally fucking crazy. Like, there's something fucked up about them. The fact that they don't get what they want in life, and they take a vengeance at everything in life because of it. So I wanted to say something about this, because she walked by me, she left, and walked very to identify me, and I had no idea. 6 months later, I'm working at Magic Time Machine. When I'm working there, she shows up with some guy, short kind of guy. She looked taller than him, blonde hair, and sat at a table while I was working there as a busser and waiter. I turn over and look at her, and she's kind of crouching a little bit, and she's just staring at me like she's staring, like she knows who the hell I am. And I don't even think, I'm like, well, that girl's pretty, but I said, girl, and then she was kind of looking at me, not like attractive, but like just very focused, and I was like, I don't know why she's looking at me, like, what did I do? And I'm thinking, like, did I do something? What's going on? What And I'm trying not to act nervous, but I'm like, does this mean something? Does something happen? And I kind of seen the person look familiar. They were there at their table for maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then they left. I don't even know if they got something to eat. I think they gave them just something to drink. And it wasn't alcohol. They could have got something to eat. I don't know, but they weren't there very long. Then, and I'm thinking the whole time, like when she showed up and she sat at that table, immediately almost, they pulled me away from her, and they had me start cutting and preparing fruit and vegetables for the salad bar inside the kitchen, immediately, to get me away from her. I don't know who did this. So I wanted to make this video, and then about a year and a half later, I go to Washington, D.C., and that's where I see Mikayla again. When I leave there from about a year after working there, and I got approved for disability, I fly to Washington, D.C., and I see Mikayla, and it's the same girl. But she looked very dressed up. She looked like she was very professionally dressed up this time. So I end up, and I shook hands with Ted Cruz, okay? I shook hands with him, and I met him, but he was walking in the hallway, and he wasn't doing a meeting at that day. He was just going to some speech or something. But I want to say this because I saw Mikayla in that office, and I left, and I was sleeping outside, and I was homeless. So I wanted to make this video to show evidence and proof of my desperations for my life and freedom, to who's responsible, who's doing this, why, and will I ever earn my freedom before I die and something happens to me.